This is the Seahawkers Podcast, episode 440. I'm Brandon Schultz of the Military Seahawkers, and I am joined by my good buddy and Montana Seahawker, Adam Emmert.
Brandon, I don't know about you, but to me, it's the most wonderful time of the year. Yes, it's week one, Brandon. The Broncos are coming up. It's here. We're starting. It's time for football.
Football is here. It is the start of the regular season 2024. And man, everything is new, but they feel so familiar with the Broncos and the Seahawks. But yet here we are getting pitted against one another, and so much new stuff on both sides. I mean, for the Broncos and for the Seahawks.
Absolutely. So 2 out of the last 3 years, we start out week one against the Broncos at home. And yeah, a lot of turnover on that Broncos roster. Obviously, all the changes with the Seahawks and the coaching staff and everything, which we've got over ad nauseum over the offseason because there's nothing else to talk about. Now we have a game to talk about, and that's super exciting. But pretty cool that they're going to bring in the throwbacks for this, for a good throwback AFC West matchup here. I'm excited for it, man. I don't know if you could tell. That
was smart of both the teams. I don't know if I could have been any more hyped for the game, but then when I saw the jerseys, I was like, oh, yes, I can be. I actually can be.
Yes. The other reason that I'm hyped for this game, Brandon, is I think this is an extremely winnable game for the Seahawks, coming with the rookie quarterback into a extremely, probably the most hostile environment in the entire league.
Uh-huh.
I know the Chiefs fans like to argue that they're louder. I mean, they're wrong. And I can't wait to see.
Philadelphia fans like to think they're more hostile, but they might be right.
No, they're just bigger dicks.
No, that's what I mean. More hostile, but not louder.
No, definitely not louder. And so I like that matchup, especially with Mike Macdonald bringing his very multiple defense to bear on this Broncos offense with a brand new, fresh out of the womb rookie quarterback. It's going to be fun, I think.
I got to tell you, though, I'm a little nervous about just straight up thinking that, it's going to be easy. We're facing a rookie quarterback. It's a Denver Broncos defense that doesn't have a lot of stars. I find myself falling into that trap a little bit. And then when I start to think through, the Broncos fan base is awfully excited. And I think part of it, too, is just having that new quarterback, settling on Bo Nix. But I think there's some things to be excited as a Broncos fan, too, just based off of how the season started last year, how the season ultimately ended. And then they go and they believe they're upgrading at quarterback, which it's tough to say right out of the gate in week one. Bo Nix is just going to be that dude. But I think he has that potential in him because, one, as much as he is a rookie, he's played some significant games over his college career. And, he's not a young rookie. He's not J.J. McCarthy out there.
Yeah, what was it, like 60-odd some starts in college, the most of anybody all-time at the quarterback position? Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's of anybody ever. But a couple things here. One, if you listen to my quarterbacks previews in this last draft, you all know that I'm super high on Bo Nix. I think he was my number 2 prospect out of this year's draft class to me. I think he could easily be the next Steve Young. I think he's got all the tools to be great. However, this is his very first game in the NFL regular season, and that's a big deal. It really is. And to come on the road to Seattle with Mike Macdonald and his scheme, I think that's going to pose a difficult challenge for him. Now, there's a couple matchups here when you look at the rosters that I think get real interesting. And if we want to start on offense, to me, this is going to be a great test for the defense, this new look defense, in terms of how they stop the run. Because if you watch through preseason and just Sean Payton's history, he runs the rock. And I think we're going to see a lot of heavy personnel, some fullback a number of times, and they're really going to try to run the ball heavily to keep a little pressure off of Bo Nix and make it so that he only has to make a few plays to keep them in the game or put them over the top. So first and foremost, this is going to be an awesome test for the new look defense against an offensive line that is really built to run the football as well.
It's built to run the football. They have a guy in Javonte Williams that has that ability to be solid. He's had injury issues kind of throughout his career, but here he is week 1. And I think he has that ability to, kind of take over the game or at least be a guy for Bo Nix to lean on. The other thing that I think that Sean Payton will want to lean on, just because that's kind of what his offense is predicated around, is that doing a lot of quick and short stuff. And so if he didn't have Bo Nix, who is one of the better, I think, quick decision makers on where he's going with the football, we even saw it in the preseason that he was doing a good job of deciding where to go quickly. I think that might take away some of the edge that the Seahawks defense could have if he's just getting rid of the ball quickly and taking, quick outlet shots.
This would traditionally be one of the games that I would watch when Pete Carroll was coach, and it would drive me crazy because he'd be so obsessed with not giving up the big play that they'd never play up on everybody. And they just let this, lackluster quarterback. I'm not saying Bo Nix is a lackluster quarterback, but in the past, a kind of a dink and dunker type quarterback, which I think is what Bo Nix is going to end up doing here in his first NFL action, and kind of try to keep it simple and get him in rhythm and all that. Like Pete would always play off, and it's like, man, I'd love to see Mike Macdonald play super aggressive with, all the coverage guys, keep everybody up, make him prove he's going to beat you deep. Because really, in the preseason, if you watched all of Bo Nix stuff, was it impressive? Sure. Like, I think he did a nice job, and especially as a rookie coming in, all the praise. But a lot of it was exactly as you described, Brandon. First read, quick decision, 5-10 yard routes. Probably his deepest completion was a deep in-breaking route to Cortland Sutton. It's just not what he did a lot in college. Not that he's not capable, but I would keep him in his comfort zone if I'm Sean Payton. So for me, for Mike Macdonald, keep everybody playing, tight coverage, keep them up, make them try to beat you deep, and then keep a spy on every play around the line of scrimmage to negate Bo Nix's scrambling ability. As we all know, rookie quarterbacks that can move, like when it gets crazy and in a crazy environment like Lumen Field, they do revert to running around. And Bo Nix is a good athlete.
Yeah.
He's not just a good runner for a quarterback. He's a damn good runner. So play him tight, keep a spy in, and that helps you load up on the box too for taking away the run, because I like Williams, and McLaughlin, the backup back, is I think a solid guy as well. So they do that. I think they have a chance to really stymie the Broncos offense in their first showing of the year.
It'll also give us an opportunity to see just how he's going to pressure Bo Nix, because I don't think this would be a game where you do want to send a whole lot of blitzers, just because he does have that talent of, I think, identifying where to go with the ball and getting rid of it quickly. But also, if you're going to send 4 guys, and it tends to be what we see from the Mike Macdonald defense, you send 4 guys, but you send them, at different guys from different positions and drop back one of your linemen. And then that can kind of, confuse the quarterback a little bit, confuse the offensive line. Don't know exactly where the pressure is coming from, but it kind of gives you that. It's similar to a blitz in that the pressure could be coming from an unexpected spot. And yeah, just how Macdonald does that in this game. It'll be interesting to see right out of the gate.
And one of the things that Coach Mike is most known for is all the simulated pressures and not knowing which guys are coming from where, which alludes to a little bit what you're saying. But also, too, that is something that is going to be difficult for, again, a first-time rookie quarterback to decipher. I mean, shoot, even the best in the league have a difficult time knowing where the pressure is going to come from. And so for me, that could actually work in the Seahawks' advantage and kind of work against Bo Nix in the sense that he's seen a lot of football, but he hasn't seen this kind of football.
And for all the time that he was in college, he never played Michigan.
Exactly. And if he thinks he knows where the pressure is coming from and hurry up and get rid of it, he could get tricked by Coach Mike and his schemes and end up throwing a pick or two or just having an inefficient day as a whole. So it's going to be, I just think that overall, this is a huge ask for a young quarterback in his first start. it's as brutal of a start as you can get.
It does make you wonder if the Seahawks put pressure on them early offensively. Is Sean Payton going to be of the mindset to allow Nix to really attack downfield? Or is he going to kind of keep him on a leash and say, hey, if we start getting behind 2 touchdowns early, you just got to stick with it and hope that you can climb back in through your defense? Or is he really going to put pressure on Bo to try and really do some downfield stuff? I would lean more toward him being more on a leash straight out of the gate.
I would think so. And look, if you end up down a bunch of scores with your young quarterback, why try to push him into situations that he's either not ready for or just not comfortable with yet, and have him break his confidence really early, right out of the gate? Just keep him doing what he's doing. If you end up losing the game, fine. It's a week 1 matchup on the road in maybe the most difficult environment in all of football, against a defensive mastermind. So look, just don't worry about it. If you end up losing by a couple scores, that's fine by us, and just don't break Bo Nix's confidence. And I think that's probably where Sean's going to be with that.
That's where he should be. I mean, I have a hard time feeling like a competitive guy like Sean Payton would necessarily be there, but he may also see the big picture, and that's important too. But looking at the Broncos offensively, their wide receivers against this defensive back group, that's going to be a little bit of a test right out of the gate too, because you got Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims. I like him as a young receiver, and a familiar name in Josh Reynolds.
I like Sutton. He's not a guy that's going to get a ton of separation. Like, he's not a burner by any stretch of the imagination, a contested ball catcher and a damn good one. But that's somebody like Tariq Woolen can just blanket all day and you don't see or hear anything from. As far as Mims goes, a guy with a lot of hype and, is a fast guy, and he's supposed to be kind of that spark plug for this offense. And the thing is he's unbelievably inconsistent. And I don't know that I'm ready to be like, he's a good player. Like, he's okay. Like, I mean, we'll see. Let's see if he takes a jump this year. But up to this point, he's not somebody that strikes the fear of God into you. And then in terms of Josh Reynolds, like, I can't wait till late in the game and it's a critical moment and he just drops the ball. Like, that's going to happen. So their wide receivers don't necessarily scare me, especially against the quality corners that the Seahawks have. I think this is going to be a great matchup for them that way. The one guy that does give me a little bit of fear is just Dulcich. I think he's a damn good tight end, and we've always had problems with covering the tight ends. I haven't seen it yet with Coach Mike's new defense, and so there's some Seahawks PTSD maybe lingering way back in the back of the brain here, but let's see if Baker and Dotson can, cover the way that we hope that they can. And that would be, as far as the pass catching options, that would be the one that scares me the most.
Well, and shoot, if they do 2 tight end sets to where they're running the football effectively, maybe they don't need to be 3 wide all the time in this game. So that could be, where it gets a little bit concerning, is if it's close, they're effective with their short game. And I could see that ultimately being a problem.
I think there's going to be some other bigger problems for this Broncos offense as well. And the biggest one is, do you remember back to the Chargers preseason game, Brandon, and Byron Murphy and what he looked like against a backup grade center? You remember that?
Yeah. You think Luke Wattenberg is a backup grade center?
He is a backup grade center. I mean, he's a guy he couldn't beat out Cushenberry, which I know a lot of people think he's a good center. And I think he ended up with the Steelers, maybe, but he's no longer with the Broncos. But ask any Broncos fan, they can't stand the guy. They think he's awful. And Wattenberg couldn't beat him out. Look, Leonard Williams and Reed and Murphy, they are going to feast up front. Between Powers and Wattenberg, like, I don't have a lot of high hopes for the interior of the offensive line for the Broncos. So I think that's really where this game is going to be won and lost, is just that matchup right there. Our defensive interior against their offensive line interior. I think this is going to be, what did Sherman say in that quote a long time ago? Something about da-da-da, and then this is a mismatch. This is a mismatch.
Mike McGlinchey at right tackle, I think he can be beat too. So I think that whole right side of the line is something that the Seahawks defensive line can really exploit.
I think there's a big matchup advantage just in the trenches here. Look, and I don't know how you feel about Garrett Bowles. He's one of the most up and down players that I've seen at left tackle for a while.
Yeah.
There's a season or two where he looks amazing, and then a handful of seasons where he looks like a rolling dumpster fire. So which Garrett Bowles do you get this year? I don't know. We'll find out. But Derek Hall could eat his lunch all day.
And it might be Derek Hall because one of the injuries to the roster, we heard from John Schneider this past week that he said it's too early to tell if we'll see Uchenna week 1. I doubt that we're going to see him week 1. I tend to think that, maybe week 2 through 4, just because he didn't go on IR. But I guess I'd be surprised if we see him out there a whole lot week 1.
Let's give him till week 3. I don't think he's a high need to face this Broncos team, and definitely not against the Patriots. As I go through the offense here for the Broncos and, rip on a couple of their players because it's fun and we're fans. I hear a lot of the pundits say that this is one of the worst rosters in football, and I just simply don't agree. I don't think they're an amazing roster, but they're not down in the depths of hell like Panthers, Patriots, go down the list.
I think they got a lot of bad press just because as a whole, they played really poorly the first 5 or 6 weeks last season. And then they improved, and shoot, they were darn near a playoff team toward the end had they actually, maybe started Russ throughout the entire rest of the season. But Payton wanted to shut him down, and that's fine. And while they don't have a lot of star power on the defensive side, they have a lot of good players outside of Cody Barton.
if we're getting to that side of the matchup, man, I was looking at their roster and just licking my chops when I saw Cody Barton. If you're Ryan Grubb, every single time Cody Barton's on the field, you target him every single play in coverage. Right. That's what you do, and the Seahawks could put up 50.
It feels like a game where they end up throwing the ball a lot. And it may not be that intuitive because at first blush you go, oh, well, Pat Surtain's our best player on defense.
Who else?
Why not run the football against them? But yeah, like you said, who else? Who else other than him? And so I think I would expect Ryan Grubb to really throw it a lot against this defense.
I think that's in his DNA. I think that's the way he wants to play football anyways. And yes, against this roster, I think this is the way to go. And look, is Riley Moss the next Jason Sehorn? I don't know. I don't think so. He hasn't been lighting it up. Yeah. And, I'm not too afraid of targeting a white corner with DK Metcalf over and over and over again. Good luck with that. As far as the safety play goes, whether it's Brandon Jones or PJ Locke, he was all right. He's coming off his best year in Miami last year, right, but was not a great player before then. And as far as PJ Locke's concerned, that's a guy that they have been developing for a long time. And I have to imagine that this safety tandem is a massive downgrade from a Justin Simmons-led safety room.
That is really tough for this defense because Justin Simmons, not only was he a good player, he was just one of their locker room dudes. And so losing that, I wonder who really is taking the place other than the expectation that Surtain steps up. But is Jaquan McMillan taking over that defensive back room?
Sure. Yeah. Why not? Why not the nickel corner? That makes all the sense. Yeah.
I don't know who necessarily would be that guy is my point.
Short of Surtain, again, not a lot of star power on this defense, but you look at the defensive line, and while nobody really stands out in terms of, wow, that guy's a really tough matchup for this offensive line, they have an amalgam of pretty darn good defensive linemen. I like Brandon Browning quite a bit. He's shown some flashes over the last couple of years. Allen from the Cards, I think
he's always given us problems. And you go on down the list, whether it's Cooper or Franklin Myers, whoever,
And while they may not have that, lead star pass rusher, I think they've got enough in terms of quality guys to piece together a decent pass rush, which is going to be fascinating to watch as we watch this offensive line come together, which I think as Seahawks fans, that's all of our biggest concerns.
It is. And this is probably going to be their first opportunity in game to play all together because we didn't see George Fant in the regular season. Mike Macdonald's not even telling us who's going to start at right guard because he wants that to be a big surprise for the Broncos for whatever reason.
Sure.
Like it's a huge matchup advantage by not letting them know who your guard's going to be. But I guess why not? I mean, if you can hide something, then why don't you? I'm sure the team knows.
Might as well, I guess. But I mean, what does that give you? 1/10% of an advantage?
Sean Payton is like really, well, maybe he is staying up all night trying to figure it out. But
God, I sure hope it's not Bradford. That'd be terrible. I hope they start the rook.
Even if it is the rookie or Bradford, it's going to be their first time all playing together as a group, and it's going to be in the regular season, and it's not going to be against a slouch defensive line. Like you said, a lot of these guys there's no stars, but they're all good, solid dudes.
Absolutely. And have we heard definitively whether it's Connor Williams or Olu for this game?
I don't think we know. If I had to guess, I'm leaning Olu just because when we talked about it with the 53-man roster, with them keeping 3 centers, it seems to me that Connor's probably going to need a week.
At least, right?
Right.
Yeah. That feels right. I was thinking in my gut that Olu would be the guy there. So we'll see how they can hold up against a solid but not great defensive line. It's going to be a good data point going forward here.
Good early test.
Again, yeah, you can't take a ton away from week 1. I mean, we see a lot of weird anomalies in week 1 all the time, but at the end of the day, I feel super confident about this matchup. And when I say super confident, not like a 24-point victory, but like a comfortable 10-point win.
I think a lot of it depends on how the strategy of the team goes. And that's one of the things I think as fans we want to see is Ryan Grubb the type of guy who likes to get out of the gate early. They talk about it. We want to get out of the gate. We want to get out of the gate early. We want to play steady throughout the game, and then we want to finish strong. Yeah. Oh, well, that makes a ton of sense, but you have to go out and show exactly how you're going to do that.
Right. And Pete, he would never be like, yeah, I want to start fast and finish strong. As always, can you win the game in the fourth quarter? But I'd love to hear a coach someday be like, you know what? I hope we kind of just suck for 2 quarters and then turn it on in the second half.
I just want him to play awesome all the time. How about that?
Yeah, I'm in. Let's sign me up for awesome all the time. I'd take that for sure.
21-point lead by halftime. And as a coach, that's what I would say. Well, I want to have a 21-point lead by halftime, and then I want to coast out the rest of the game as we, slowly choke them out. That's fine.
Look, I think everybody except for every cardiac center in Seattle area really agree with that philosophy. I think all of those guys think that that's bad for business.
That's what I'm worried about, too. I'm worried that I didn't re-up the heart med prescription in the off season just to kind of wait and see. But, maybe we're going to need it.
Well, at least go out and get a little bit of aspirin, the baby aspirin or something, just in case.
Who are you really excited to see just in terms of offensively? And maybe it can be how they match up against this Denver Broncos defense, but maybe just in general, too.
It's hard not to say like every skill position guy, right? I mean, because we know that we're loaded at the skill positions. I love watching Kenneth Walker in just his style and the way that he plays. It's exciting football. It's absolutely exciting football. So if I'm not going to say Kenneth Walker, I'm going to say DK. I want to see a truly dominant DK performance, just kind of unleashed to his fullest potential. Because I feel like for me, and I don't know if the rest of the 12s agree with this or not, but it feels like we get like every season, like 80-85% of the DK potential.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's just more there that he has to unlock. And I'm really hoping that this is the year for it, with Grubb utilizing him in a way that will allow him to showcase all of his true talents.
That was one of the things that was more eye-opening to me when Clinton and I did our show earlier this week, is that he said that DK had 66 catches the entirety of last year. Well, the question he posed to me was how many, just on average, catches per game did DK have last season?
4?
Yeah.
Well, I'm
that.
guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, doesn't that seem just crazy low?
Crazy low, considering it felt like we were force feeding him at times last year. And maybe it was just the scheme and just lack of protection up front that made it so it wasn't quite as successful as we'd all had hoped. And wide receiver being the most dependent of all the offensive positions on everybody else doing their job for them to be able to showcase their talent.
I know what you mean about Kenneth Walker, though. That's the one where I think, too, just because he hasn't had the ability to really have a breakout season nationally, just due to injuries. He's a lot of times he's been starting the season injured, or out for a few games here and there. I think if he could put together a full season, I think it would start to open up some eyes as far as what he is really able to do. And it might even be what he's able to do in a Ryan Grubb offense if he's expected to be one of those guys who's also on the field to catch the football, which I think that he can do. I just, for whatever reason, that's one of the things I'm most excited about switching offensive coordinators, is to see Kenneth Walker used how I think he could be, and not, taken off the field randomly inside the red zone, or taken off the field on third down, when on third down and, 7, 8, 9, if he's the guy who's the outlet receiver and you're just asking, everybody's covered downfield, toss it out to K9, that guy can make a guy miss and have a first down. All he has to do is make one dude miss.
There isn't a guy on the team shiftier. And if you check it down to him and you give him at least 3 yards of space, he can easily make two guys miss and pick up a first down, or even be out the door and be a game wrecker at that point. And the other part of using K9 effectively and properly, I think, is to use him enough to get him in a rhythm that he can really just get going. Whereas I felt like we'd always have like a decent K9 game going, and then all of a sudden it was Charbonnet for 3 series.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I understand bringing him in for a play or two and, giving Ken a breather and maybe a change of pace back, whatever. But it just felt like that Waldron never could find a rhythm to the running game. And we'll see if that's something that Grubb can excel at. I'm really hopeful.
I think all of us as fans, we're just the most optimistic, like that this new guy is going to change all the things that we didn't like that were here previously. And that's probably not going to be the case. But until we know, we can only project what our best expectations might be.
Honestly, towards the last 2 years, the deficiencies of the team felt less like the players' issue and more like coaching. It felt like that we had plenty of talent to get the things done that really annoyed us. It was a philosophical thing. And so I think the idea that we all think that Coach Mike is going to get it fixed on defense and Grubb is going to get it going on offense, I think it's fairly well-founded. I think that's a place. It's not like, I don't know, let's say the Panthers, right? And you bring in Canales and you're like, well, Canales will cure all that ails us. It's like, well, the roster is, let's just say subpar. It's not like there's the dudes there to get it done, whether you had Belichick in his prime or, who's the worst coach ever, Urban Meyer. Your result isn't going to be that much difference. Where I think in Seattle, the roster is a high quality roster. So there can be a reasonable expectation that some of these things get fixed with the new regime.
Well, we're talking about some players that we're excited about, and I know we got done with the offense. On defense, we haven't talked a lot about Devin Witherspoon and how he might impact a game like this, because I felt like during the preseason, we saw a lot of vanilla Devin Witherspoon, and not a whole lot because you got a few starts, and a lot of times he's just playing on the outside, playing outside corner. But I don't tend to think that that's where he's ultimately going to be once this game starts.
I think if you're going to go out and try to track Witherspoon all game as a fan watching the game, you're going to be a busy person. Like, it's going to be hard to find where he's going to be. I do think that that's a chess piece that Coach Mike is going to do a lot of different things with. I would expect him, especially in a game like this, where I think it's going to be a lot of shorter passes and checkdowns from a rookie quarterback. I think that's a place where Spoon can really shine, right? Because he does rally to the ball quickly and make electrifying tackles. So this could be a super exciting game from somebody like Spoon. It kind of plays to his strengths in a lot of ways.
And why having him more in the box rather than outside would probably tend to, be the better use of him in a game like this.
Gosh, it's going to be so much fun to finally see this team in a regular season matchup and start to get a feel for what this coaching staff is all about and what the schemes are going to look like and how these players have come along within this new scheme. It's obviously I was bummed for Pete to go. I would have liked to have seen him for one more year for various reasons, but man, the newness of this at this time going into this, it is legit exciting.
Well, allow yourself to be excited because that's where we are. And it is regular season week 1. As much as there is excitement around the roster and week 1, we did get a little bit bummer news that, from John Schneider that all he said about Abe Lucas is that he expects Abe to play this year. And I don't know, at this point, expectation doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Like, I expect the Seahawks to win 11 games, but is my expectation, is that going to be met? Like, as a general manager, you do expect guys who you put on the roster to actually play on the roster at some point.
Yeah, it seems like if you pay them, that's what you want them to do.
Right.
For sure. It is getting a little scary with the Abe stuff, just because this does feel like old knee stuff. This is old man type stuff where they're like, I don't know. I mean, we're just going to rest him for a good long time. He's doing everything he can. And it sounds like it's just not responding the way that everybody has hoped that it would. And really at the end of the day, it's all my fault because I was so fired up about Lucas when they drafted him and after his first year and just his demeanor. He was my favorite Seahawk and I cursed him and it's my fault. And I'm very sorry.
It does feel like you have some partial responsibility here, but don't beat yourself up over it.
I'm not going to put on the waterproof pillowcases on my pillows tonight and cry myself to sleep over it. But I feel a twinge of guilt at the very least.
There's some other Seahawks related news. Coach Mike Macdonald says the Seahawks will have game captains rather than season captains.
That was interesting to me. So does nobody wear the C then?
I wonder if everybody gets a C. Once you're a game captain, then aren't you a captain and you can wear the C for the rest of the season?
So it'd be like a sea of C's out on the field. Yeah. By about week 16.
Other teams do it this way. So it's not like it's anything new.
Yeah.
I don't know what the rules are as far as how many games you have to play to officially affix the C to your jersey, or if it's, they have the different stars, which I think are the season long. Like you get another star if you were a C for a season. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Like, how many does it accumulate if you're a game captain?
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess we'll have to learn the rules a little bit more when it comes to captaincy.
So they don't have like Ed McMahon coming out and like announcing how many stars that any of these guys get, like back in the day on Star Search. Yeah,
maybe they should make a bigger deal about this.
Yeah, where's Ed McMahon? Get him out here. I don't care if he's dead. Dig him up.
Practice squad announcements. We did our 53-man roster show, but when we did that, practice squad had yet been announced. Linebacker Michael Barrett makes the practice squad. He was picked up in the trade for Michael Jackson. You got defensive tackle Keon Bars, who is not a name that is familiar to me. Free safety Marquise Blair makes the practice squad. We also got outside linebacker Tyus Bowser, former Raven, and signed to the team. That was a bit of interesting news this past week that he was signed.
I thought so. I don't think that I'm an expert on Tyus Bowser in any way, shape, or form, but I remember watching him at times and being like, he's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Like, I like that guy.
His problem has been injuries because he hasn't been able to put together healthy seasons. And so, put a guy like that on the practice squad. It makes a lot of sense. That way, if you can elevate him and play him in the game, then maybe that's the best place for him. And hopefully he doesn't get hurt this year.
And it makes a lot of sense with the idea that Chenna could miss a few games here and just having the extra depth and all of that. And a guy that Coach Mike is obviously familiar with.
A guy I was excited about for depth, seeing him on the practice squad, cornerback Artie Burns, because when I look at the cornerback depth, I wasn't too excited after we finished looking at the 53-man roster. Obviously, you got your starting three, which Reek, Devin Witherspoon, Trey Brown. But then you look and you see D. Williams, a rookie undrafted free agent, and Nehemiah Pritchett, a rookie fifth rounder. I was glad to see that Artie Burns was brought back.
That makes a lot of sense, especially with the preseason that Artie had. I thought he played pretty darn well and showed out. And by all accounts, the team was excited about him. So good for him.
McClendon Curtis makes the practice squad. Also, quarterback Jaron Hall, former Vikings quarterback, added on Monday this week.
Yeah, okay. Couldn't they have gone out and find that Sloter dude instead and bring him in from the Vikings? I liked him better than Hall.
Yeah, and the other guy that you liked ended up going back to the Ravens.
Tyler Huntley.
Huntley, yeah.
I'm telling you, man, he would have given Sam Howell a push for the backup spot.
Which is weird that he would just go to the practice squad for the Ravens rather than, well, I mean, other than familiarity. But you should have some familiarity here.
Did he send some sultry text messages to the commissioner's wife or something? Like, what did he do to get in everybody's doghouse as a league? Like,
I have no idea.
Must have been something. Because it can't be about his play. He was a Pro Bowler 2 seasons ago, and I understand that, a third of the league are Pro Bowlers at any given position these days.
Enough guys get passed over, and then you start, texting guys that maybe wouldn't necessarily be Pro Bowlers, but you need to fill out the squad.
But if you make the Pro Bowl even as the 7th alternate, you're not a practice squad, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came in and he showed out well in place of Lamar Jackson enough to get invited to the Pro Bowl.
I thought he looked pretty good in the preseason game as well.
Cornerback Fionn Hicks, not a name that I know, but one that I do recognize. Running back George Holani makes the practice squad.
That's exciting. I really like George Holani. I said when we were getting ready for the 53 that I would love to keep 4 backs, and it looks like we did.
So they keep Hicks, they keep Josh Jobe, but DJ James struggling to, he was waived, and I think he had a meeting with the Giants, but I don't think he ultimately landed on a roster yet.
Well, I imagine keep your nose to the grindstone. It'll probably pop for him. I mean, you're telling me that we needed to keep McClendon Curtis and we couldn't have figured out a way to bring DJ James back?
I'm okay keeping McClendon Curtis. I can.
Are you?
I can see the idea of needing offensive line depth over.
Sure, then go get an offensive lineman.
He was fine. He had a couple of plays where he got beat on some speed rushes here and there, but
I'm not at all comfortable with that, dude.
I think for your 3rd or 4th string guy, in a pinch, if he had to play, I don't know. There's worse guys out there for sure.
Okay. If you say so.
You got defensive end, Devere Levelston, tight end, Tyler Mabry coming back for another year, linebacker Patrick O'Connell, the Kalispell Kid, and Ty Okada, free safety on the roster.
A lot of the names that you would have expected to see, and that's got to speak to the depth of this roster as a whole, because there's some good players there that they ended up bringing back to practice squad. I thought Okada showed out pretty decently, and Patrick O'Connell looked like a tackling machine when he had his chance there. So, look, man, just make sure that somebody doesn't pick him off the practice squad, because I think he could be a good player going down in the future here.
Yeah, well, the Carolina Panthers already claimed a couple of our guys, with John Radigan and Jamie Sheriff being plucked off our waiver wire. So lost a couple of those guys.
Dark Canales.
You're kind of poo-pooing McLennan Curtis, but did you see anything? You're very much poo-pooing him.
Yeah.
And, but did you see anything out of Max Percher this preseason that got you excited at all?
Yeah, no, not even a little bit. I don't know. I don't know Max.
He made the practice squad along with Tyreek Smith.
Good for him.
And Cody White.
Oh, good. Tyreek Smith is back to tease me into thinking that he's going to be able to put it together with injuries and look as good as he did at Ohio State a few seasons ago.
Hey, we're allowed to keep one of those guys on now that D. Eskridge is gone to Miami. Like, we can have one guy who's just kind of a tease, but is on the practice squad, so it's okay.
Okay, so Tyreek Smith is taking the place of my D. Eskridge heroin addiction that I can't seem to quit?
Maybe a little bit.
Perfect. Good.
It makes a lot of sense for him to go to Miami, too.
It really does.
It's a very soft roster, I would say.
Oh, my God. Yeah. One of the softest in football. And that's why I think that a lot of people are having a hard time getting on board with them having a ton of success this year, especially late in the year, because of just the way they're built. And they're just they better have home field advantage because they are the warmest of the warm weather teams.
Well, good luck to D down there, but mostly good luck to our Seahawks.
They're not going to need it this week, Brandon, because I think that this is a victory against the Denver Broncos week 1, as this stadium is going to be on fire for week 1, man. Everybody's excited about this new era, and let's start it out with a bang.
Yeah, let's do that, but let's also... Like, I want to see a double-digit victory. I got to tell myself not to be disappointed, though, if I don't get at least a double-digit victory.
Any victory will stave off the disappointment. I'm going to be super excited if it's a semi-dominant win. If it's a dominant win, I mean, just crown us now. I'm going to be that excited.
That's the other thing that I'm kind of concerned about, that if it is a dominant win, maybe concerned is the wrong word, but I don't think I'll be able to contain my level of hype if this team goes out and wins by, 17 points.
Especially if Geno and the offense look like they did in that one series. I mean, that was ridiculous how good that was.
That was unfair to us as Seahawks fans to put that on tape, I think, in just one series of a preseason game, because you look at that and you're like, yes, that's what I want all the time. Do that. Just continue to do that against the stupid Broncos defense. And if I don't get that, then where did that come from and where did it go?
Then again, I mean, we've all been waiting to see this offense in the league for the first time. It's going to have some lumps along the way. There's no doubt about it. But there is a potential for it to be great. There's also a potential for it to not be great. But there's a potential for it to be great. And that's what I'm trying to focus on here and get hyped for. Because of all my season goals for this team that they don't know that I have for them, but they need to live up to, is we need to get Geno out of this stupid tier 3 in the athletics quarterback thing. That is absurd. It's so absurd. Having him by Derek Carr. Like, who's watching football? These are 50 NFL executives that voted on this. What are we talking about?
This is a good discussion to have, I think. Let's close out the discussion on the Denver Broncos and looking ahead to week 1. Adam, let's come back after the break. We're going to talk about this because there's a couple different lists. I thought list season was over. No, The Athletic proved us wrong. There's another list out there that I want to get into too. And it also wasn't that great for the Seahawks, but let's get into it after the break.
All right.
As we get into the second half of the show, we teased it a little bit coming into the break. There's a few lists out there, and one in particular that maybe it just can't wait till the Do Better segment, Adam.
Look, man, if it's on your heart, let it free. Like, let's hear it, buddy.
No, the one that you brought up with Geno being in the bottom third of NFL quarterbacks. Like,
that was stupid. With a capital stupid. I just, what are people watching? Like, and these are supposedly football dudes.
Yeah.
Like, I can't understand, if you really know football, how you watch Geno's tape with the scheme that was around him and just the struggles up front, and watch him be tied for the league in fourth quarter comebacks. Like, just be a gutty guy who's accurate and on time. His accuracy numbers are off the charts. I was listening to a little ditty from Warren Sharp talking about this list and how stupid it was, and he's right. And he's going through some of the, he lists one like CPOE. I don't know if that, if you need an inhaler for that or something.
Completion percentage over expectation.
Okay. That sounds like some stat that I don't believe in, but he's really good in that. So that sounds good. But
let me explain it to you really quick, because some people might have that same question as you do, the CPOE. Like, what does that mean? Think of it as a quarterback's ability to hit a really tight window. If a quarterback has a low completion percentage over expectation, they're probably not a good tight window quarterback. Whereas, if it's a high percentage one, then generally they're good at that.
Oh, I see. So this is an objective stat.
I think there's actually I think it's an observed stat that, how close is the coverage versus whether or not, if a receiver drops it, or, it's not blaming the quarterback, like for receiver drops, that sort of thing.
And so it's a PFF stat. Like, it's one of these where somebody watches it, they put their opinion into the stat. Like, one guy, that's a tight window. Another guy's going to be like, no, that was wide open. That's NFL open. I don't know. A lot of these advanced stats get that way. And that's why football doesn't work great with advanced stats compared to some of the other sports. But okay.
I think there's some that work. I think this is one that generally, because you're comparing it to other quarterbacks, you want a quarterback who has a higher completion percentage over expectation. Then it's better to have a good number than a bad number, right?
See, like completion percentage, that is a not objective. Like, it's just a fact. Like, there's no argument whether or not like the dude completed the pass or not. Like, that's a real stat.
Yeah, but what if you're throwing to Josh Reynolds, like in critical moments 5 times a game, and then your quarterback gets downgraded because of Josh Reynolds not being able to catch a football?
Hey, drops are a semi-objective stat, right? Like, because one man's drop is another one like, oh, that was barely catchable. Like,
it's true.
Yeah. But Geno, awesome in all of the accuracy stats, awesome in the clutch, has been a fantastic leader, better with his legs than you think, has all the arm to make every throw on the field. And I still feel like all these executives, these professionals that are paid to have opinions about football in the league, still hold what happened to him from this end of his tenure at the Jets through not being able to beat out potential future Hall of Famers at every stop along the way until he got to Seattle. And they hold that over his head.
I think he's going to have to be in MVP consideration or make it to a championship game or a Super Bowl for, I think, that opinion to finally shake out, which is unfortunate because not everybody can be Rich Gannon and the way that he ascended late in his career. But Geno really is a Rich Gannon type story. And I know we've talked about it in the past, but it has been so long that I think people forget, how, and I guess there's some similarities just with it being late in the career, but Gannon, like when he went to the Vikings, he wasn't really expected to be the dude. He was there backing up Wade Wilson at the time, and he eventually got his shot to start, and it didn't work out all that well for him. And then he had to go a while until he got another shot, but he wasn't like a second round quarterback to where he had those expectations, I think, early on. So maybe that part of it is also playing against Geno, in that he had relatively high expectations being with the Jets and being a second round pick and being a guy who could sling it all over at West Virginia. And then because he didn't live up to that early on, it's being held against him
continually. And I don't know. I mean, even if he gets to like a conference championship game, like, for example, how many people still hold Goff in a certain kind of light
Sure.
Even though now he's gone to championship games with two different teams.
Well, that's a good point, because I guess you still look at him as he was in the Super Bowl. He couldn't close it out, and then ultimately gets traded away by a coach who didn't even want him. And he's gone on to have success, but I don't know if it's a guy necessarily that you think of someone that you would lean on. And he was the first overall pick.
Yeah, he was. And look, that was one that I ended up getting wrong over the course of time. Like, how many times did I sit here and trash Jared Goff on this podcast when he was with the Rams? And I mean, he was with the Rams, so of course I have to trash him a little bit. But I really did give him the McClendon Curtis treatment, for the majority of years there. And I didn't think there was any possible way that he was going to get to the Lions and have the kind of success that he has. Or let's say Brock Purdy. I mean, he's had a lot of success in this point of his career, and there's a lot of people that don't accept that he's anything more than a low-tier starter backup quarterback. I think he's more than that. I don't think that I'd take Jared Goff over Brock Purdy, though. But that's just me.
Maybe. Yeah.
And they still hold it against him.
Where was Purdy on this list for The Athletic? Do you remember?
He was in tier 2.
Okay.
Near the bottom. Yeah. Kind of like I think he was the last of tier 2, and I want to say Tua was the beginning of tier 3. And man, talk about just empty stats. Like that's exactly what Tua is. I do not get it. I don't get it.
If you put Geno Smith in the Miami offense, people would legit be excited about Geno.
Absolutely. Yeah. And maybe that's what Ryan Grubb does for Geno Smith here. And because he's got the same caliber of weapons. Now, they play different style of football. Like, we don't have the kind of speed on the outside that the Dolphins do. Nobody does.
No.
But, and just in terms of equivocal talent, absolutely. And I really want Geno to smash these expectations and to really just solidify himself as the starter for the next 4 to 5 years for the Seahawks, where it's like, freaking duh, we're going with Geno, that nobody questions it anymore. Because I've seen in the comments, like, people be like, well, you hate on Howell, but, is it disingenuous to say that Geno could be the long-term starter? No, it's not. It's not. Like, you can't look much further than 3 to 5 years into the future in any football team to begin with. And Geno's only 33.
He can play another 3 to 5 years easy.
Easy. Guys do it all the time these days.
So I could really care less about where the executives in the league place him. I more want it for our own Seahawks fan base. So that way, I want us to all be on the same page as far as the quarterback goes and thinking that he's awesome.
So basically you want to go from where we're at now, where I want to say, I think about 2/3 of the fan base are like, yeah, I like Geno. He's good. I like him. And then 1/3 of the fan base are like, he's trash. It'll be trash forever. That's where I feel like now. Whereas with Russ, everybody was in agreement. Yeah, he's a superstar, but the let Russ cook people are like, let him throw every down, all the downs forever. And the rest of us are like, wait a second. That's not his structure. You want to get to that point to where we're just arguing how far his greatness goes.
And I have a hard time really teasing out what parts of the fan base feel what, because I sometimes wonder if it's, a casual versus hardcore. And part of it too is, I think, even for me, I had a hard time letting go that stigma that was attached to Geno just over the course of his time before he came to Seattle.
His first year of starting, was it week 4, week 5 that they played the Saints? It was after that game. I was like, you know what? I was dead freaking wrong. Leave Drew Lock on the bench. Geno's for real. And I'm still there.
Well, we hit on the Geno Smith quarterback list. There was also a top 10 list, Adam. K9 outside of the top 10 for NFL running backs. I was not impressed.
That's interesting, because as I've been listening to a lot of the season preview shows from the national media, whether it's Seahawks specific or they're speaking about the league in general, I've heard K9 come up and everybody be like, oh yeah, he's freaking great. He's really good. Yeah. So, I mean, who's number 10?
Number 10, Nick Chubb.
this list is invalid. This isn't 1983. Like, if a dude has an ACL, like, it's not like his career is over or will never get back to being great. Guys come back from that sort of stuff all the time.
There's a lot of good running backs out there. Number 9, Josh Jacobs.
Okay.
Number 8, Kyron Williams.
Nope.
Number 7, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Nope.
He's got potential.
He's definitely got potential. And same with Kyron Williams. But K9 has more track record than either of those two guys.
Jonathan Taylor at number 6.
Proper.
Breece Hall at number 5.
Okay.
Bijan at number 4.
Okay.
I think that's awesome. High. I think that's high for Bijan.
If you want to put him below Taylor and then bump everybody up, I'd go there.
I might even put Gibbs ahead of Bijan at this point.
No.
Okay.
Nope. Not even close.
Saquon Barkley, number 3.
I think he's one of the most overrated players in the entire league.
Derrick Henry, number 2.
God, are we sure? Like, this is where we're getting to does he still have it? Like, with his play style at his age kind of area?
Until he doesn't.
Did he have it last year?
I don't know. It's the Titans. Who watched the Titans last year?
People that hated themselves in their eyeballs. Yeah.
And I think we all know who number 1 is.
Who's number 1? Give it to me.
Christian McCaffrey.
Fair enough. I agree with you on your Bijan point. I'd throw him down behind Taylor, and then Bijan, K9 right there.
And then Breece Hall can be in there too.
Wasn't he above Taylor?
He was.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Put those guys behind Breece Hall and Taylor, and I think you got it.
Well, and where do you move Nick Chubb up to? You just swap him out with Saquon?
Yes, 100% without question. Look, I'm not saying Saquon's a bad player before anybody gets it twisted in the freaking comments. Like, but people act like he's, Walter Payton.
I put him at the same level as Josh Jacobs.
I agree.
Okay.
Good player. Not necessarily. I mean, I know Josh Jacobs like literally ripped our hearts out like a year ago or 2 years ago, whatever it was. But I don't see him on the same level as some of those other backs.
Anyway, K9 outside that top 10 list.
Boo and hiss.
Yeah.
Don't like it.
Who was it? Who did this list anyway? Fox Sports NFL staff.
Wow. Instead of firing one dude, they have to fire a whole bunch of them after that list.
We'll see if there's a coach on the hot seat for putting Jacoby Brissett as the number 1 quarterback for the Patriots this season. I just thought it was notable to point out that the Patriots picked their starting quarterback. They're not going with a rookie, and we're going to be facing off against the Patriots week 2.
Yeah. No way in hell am I putting Drake May out there. Not in any circumstance. For, I don't know, when's their bye? Like, whenever that is.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. That would be the absolute earliest short of like a couple games at the end of the season. Like, that might be the earliest I put him in, is just put him in there, let him get his feet wet a little bit, a little like Mahomes did. But look, just no.
Part of it, though, with the Patriots is their schedule. Like, they face a gauntlet early on. They start off against the Bengals, then they play Seattle, then the Jets, who could be pretty tough, especially a rookie quarterback against that Jets defense. Then the Niners, Dolphins defense, maybe. And then the Texans.
There's question marks. Yeah, Texans are good.
Then they get into the Jags.
Weren't they supposed to have a last place schedule?
It's a tough schedule. It starts to soften up kind of around the Dolphins because it goes Dolphins and the Texans be tough, but then they have the Jags, the Jets, the Titans, and the Bears.
Okay.
So the middle part.
Yeah. I think the only valid argument for putting Drake May out there is to see what you got in the first year a little bit, because they're going to be picking number 1 next year. And unless they want to, do like a Rosen situation where they're like, yeah, we like him, but kick him out the door and then draft number 1 the next year.
Oh, they got a late bye. It's not until, they have a December 8 bye.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Poor Jacoby Brissett's going to be like half a human by then. Like, there's no human being that can hold up to the punishment he's about to take, especially with that early schedule. Yikes.
Yeah, that's going to be, well, Just be ready, Drake.
Yeah. In case your cursed number is called, why on God's green earth did he pick number 10?
What's wrong with number 10?
I don't know. The last first round rookie QB that they drafted failed miserably wearing number 10. I wouldn't want that stink on me.
There's got to be some good number 10s out there.
That's fine. But the last number 10 for the Patriots, who was a quarterback, who was a first round pick, turned out to be not good.
Because you can't say anything bad about 10. That's the number that Jim Zorn wore.
I'm fine with that. I'm just saying in that situation, like, no way I'm picking 10. You don't want Mac Jones stink on you.
At the same time, you're like, well, I know I can be better than that guy. I feel like there's some confidence. Like maybe you want to wash away the stink. Like, I'm going to take over this number. I'm going to make 10 great again. Sure.
Okay.
I don't know what goes into picking numbers.
I don't know. Choose 12. Like, or just something else.
I think as a Patriot, you're probably not choosing 12.
Okay. That's fair.
Well, I know some folks that are here that support the number 12. That is our members of the flock. They went to getintheflock.com. Any amount for supporting the show gets you into our Discord. And yeah, getintheflock.com gets you there. $12 and above gets you into our Ring of Honor group, as well as a thank you monthly at the end of the show. And a big thanks to our executive producers who come in at 90 and above for some consecutive weeks and maybe even all throughout the season, as some of these folks are concerned, starting with DCH, Brian Shaw, JC Schilling, and Brian Lowry. Big thanks to our executive producers.
Huge thanks to them. You guys are awesome. We're about to get this lit season going here. I'm so fired up, dude. I can't even believe how excited I am going into this year.
I'm fired up going into this year, and 11 seasons in, just when I see how many people who continue to support the show, new names that come in that I am not familiar with, it's also humbling. Just as far as doing this for as long as we have, and yeah, people saying, yeah, I continue to like you guys enough that we want to send money your way, that so that you keep doing it. It's amazing to me.
It really is, and it does fill up your cup. And just the idea that people find the value in that, as we always say, the value for value model here. Like if you don't have the money to get in the flock and support the show and, you know, help us keep going, I totally get it. But if you got a couple bucks and you feel like this is worth at least that, like a cup of coffee's worth a month, we do really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference, and it's going to make something happen, like heading out to Foxborough for week 2 and being able to see a bunch of you little flockers out there. Like that's what makes it really special.
It is. It's super fun. The meetups are some of the most enjoyable times in the season when we get to do that. And yes, week 2 at Foxborough, we're going to be in Boston, and I'm sure we'll have a meetup there Saturday night. So if you're going to be going to that game, let's plan on all getting together. We have a channel for it in the Discord, so that way we can communicate as we get a little bit closer, put any information there as we find a place to meet up at. And looking forward to getting together week 2 as we travel to a stadium we've never been before.
Absolutely. I've never been to Boston. It's going to be awesome, and just really fired up for that. You know, I'm also excited for Pick'em this year, Brandon. And if you guys do get in the flock at $3 and above every month, get in the Pick'em League. So one of the big things about the Pick'em League is come correct with your name, your team name. Mm-hmm. Like, don't just put in your name. Like, come up with something witty. There's so much creativity among the little flockers. It's been wholly entertaining for years. And this is the week, man. We got to get our picks in. So everybody get after it.
We'll be getting after our picks. Yes, the folks who support the show also help support the prizes for the Pick'em League. And yeah, the other benefits from being a member of the flock at getintheflock.com, you don't have to deal with ads. You get ad-free shows through that feed. So that's a nice thing. You get the ad-free shows too that go out on the Hawkra channel. So if you're looking for 3 in, 3 out, if you're looking for Seahawkers, what if? You're looking for PNW Prop Stars, that is all there at For the Hawkra. It's a separate feed, so yeah, if you realize that those shows aren't in your feed, go and subscribe to that one too. And, of course, if you're at gettingtheflock.com, you'll get all those there. There's also a free tier there. So another reason, if you just want to join, just so you can get the emails, know when shows come out. And we've got a new member this week. We've got Isaac Lipnick, who is in at $3 a month. Welcome to the flock to Isaac.
Hey, all right, Isaac. Appreciate that, man. I'm looking forward to that team name. I think Isaac's going to come in with a top 10. He's going to do better than K9 in that list. He's going to come in with a top 10 team name.
If anybody can work McClendon Curtis's name into their team name and pick them, I think that would be impressive.
That would be pretty good. Yeah.
A good pun. There's a lot of good puns in there.
Oh, for sure.
Because what was your last team name? I feel like you're probably going to come up with, because Brittermilk
Disley
Pancakes.
Adams.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You had Brittermilk Pancakes, then you went to Disley Adams. You're going to have to find a new player to build your team name off of.
Yeah, it's going to be Dirty Grubby.
Okay. Dirty Grubby. There we go.
Yeah.
You've already decided.
I have. I did it in just like 5 seconds there. That was a decision made. Boom.
Well, we do have some folks part of the mailbag. So talking pick'em, we're going to be talking about it here in the mailbag, I expect, because, well, first coming in is Hugh. Says, howdy, Brandon and Adam. So the long off season is now over, as is the preseason, and a bright new dawn of Seahawks football is ahead of us. I really hope the change from Pete works out. Being a Sheffield United football and Derbyshire cricket fan, the Seahawks were my only consistently victorious side. I trust in Mike and hope he takes us to the next postseason level. I've listened to all the offseason content, and the one episode that caused me the most thought was the Mount Rushmore episode, and specifically whether Russ should be there. And my train of thought took me to 2 places: Russ, the player, and Russ, the person, and if we can separate them. Russ, the player, would be on my Mount Rushmore in a heartbeat. However, Russ, the person, and how he handled himself at the end would barely see him make the foothills. Can we separate the player from the person, and should we? How different would a player-only mountain be from personality-focused mountain? My hopes for the season are a winning record, playoff spot, postseason win or 2, and for anyone but Geno people to be completely proved wrong and pipe down and accept he is our quarterback and high-quality one at that. Go Hawks from you.
Go Hawks, you. I also wonder, in terms of Russ the person, like, at what point do we think that it went from, how many years in, from humble Russ to diva Russ? Right? Because do we separate those two things as well? Because in terms of Russ the person early on in his career, could you ask for anything more?
No. In fact, I mean, he was amazing. And I don't even think that you can put it on any life thing that changed him, because I think those first couple of years when he married Sierra, we still had old Russ. I think the dividing line was really kind of around the let Russ cook line.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe just him embracing that a bit too much is where it started to go. But it feels like that was kind of the diverging point with old Russ and new Russ.
I would probably agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was, right after the loss to the Cowboys in the playoffs, to where I think all of us as Seahawks fan looked at that game and thought that Russ wasn't allowed to do enough in that playoff loss to the Cowboys. And so that's where I felt like the let Russ cook part of it was born.
Yeah, right in there. I totally agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I know, too, when some people talk about personality, some of it is, I don't know, he's just so positive that I think that sometimes that grinds people the wrong way, too.
Yeah, I can understand for some how that would be tough to deal with. I guess for me, like, personally, like in my everyday life, I try to keep pretty even keel, but I get into the pessimistic, bin maybe a little too often.
Yeah.
And so having that voice in your life, like even on the periphery of like a football player that you watch often or something like that is overwhelmingly positive, it kind of helps to balance things out a little bit. So it never really rubbed me in a really terrible way as much as it did others, but I could get how it would.
And then the thing I think that really solidified it was when he went to the Broncos, and then he had his own office and that sort of thing. And it really felt like he was upping the game. And it kind of confirmed some of those things that we wondered about with regard to him. But I feel like I'm getting beyond that, but I also understand why people hold on to some of that.
Sure, I guess. I let go of a lot of that a long time ago. I think we hit full diva when he bought a house with 75 bathrooms. I think that's when
Too many bathrooms. Well, we heard from Hugh. Now we've got our queen coming in, the queen of the Pick'em League. It's Evie. Evie says, "Dear underlings, I'm guessing by how excited Dad is getting that the American football season is close to starting again. So it is time for me to dust off my overlord crown and keep you Pick'em League minions in line. A reminder of the rules. Rule 1, you must pick the Seahawks to win each week, no matter who they're playing, no matter what. Rule 2, you must come up with a funny and clever name for your team.
Absolutely.
Rule 3, the top 5 teams at the end of the season will win a prize, only made funnier by Dad finishing 6th the last 2 seasons."
That's brutal.
It's brutal that Evie takes joy in that, but she's raised right. Rule number 4, the team with the most correct picks each week will get a weekly winner prize, which Brandon will send out by 2037 at the very latest.
Yeah, at the very latest.
At the very latest. I appreciate Evie giving me, a little bit of a window there.
Yeah.
If you pick against the Seahawks, the following consequences will be in place. First offense, your pick will be changed to the Seahawks and your Hawkra will be diminished. Second offense, your pick will be changed, your Hawkra will be diminished, and you must post in the Discord about your undying love for Sean McVay.
Ooh, ow. No, that one hurts.
That's a bad second offense. I could see that. That could be discouraging.
My goodness, Brandon, what's strike 3 from our benevolent overlord?
I don't even know. Let's see. Third offense, your pick will be changed, your Hawker will be diminished. You must post in the Discord a picture of you wearing a 49ers shirt with a message saying how much you love a 49ers player.
Oh, that hurts on the inside.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Fourth offense, you simply won't be allowed to play anymore. Grow up.
Fair.
This is good. I like that, one, we have somebody policing this, and
yes,
there are actual consequences to not following and obeying the rules.
And if any of you out there think that Evie isn't watching your picks, you'd be wrong.
You're wrong. She looks every week.
Yeah.
Well, every week that she needs to.
Absolutely.
On the 49ers note, Dad embarrassed himself and me the other week when at my sister's cricket practice, he was wearing his Seahawks Bobo shirt. And one of the girls on my sister's team and her dad told him they were 49ers fans. They had some banter, but then in a warm-up game using a vortex ball of dads against girls, Dad caught the ball and then threw it, hitting the stumps to win the game for the dads and celebrated by shouting, "See, that's how a Seahawks quarterback plays." At this point, I went for a walk, and I've never seen my sister so happy to go in the nets and face the bowling machine. You'll be hearing from me as the season gets going. Be good, underlings. Go Hawks from Evie.
Hey, go Hawks, Evie. Yeah, do not test Evie, people. It's not good for your deal. It's been outlined how it's not good for your deal. And congratulations to Hugh for not throwing a purdy-turdy with the vortex ball. I'm very excited for him.
And hopefully, Hugh, you can do better than 6th this year.
Yeah, or not. Like, if he doesn't do as well, that means I've got a better chance to do well.
Maybe you both can finish in the top 5. Anyhow, if you want to get into the Pick'em League, you can go to SeahawkersPodcast.com. You can click on the Pick'em link, and that'll take you to CBS Sports, where we continue to do our Pick'em. It's worked out so far.
Yeah.
We're looking at one possible one to change to, but if we do that, it won't be until next season.
Yeah. We're like some dude who's on his 4th marriage, right? Like, we're happy with where we're at, I guess, but, you're still looking around.
It works fine, but yeah, I mean, if something better comes along, then okay.
Yeah.
On to do better and better at life.
All right, man. My do better for this week is almost every single national football TV show. Like, I don't know, Brandon, if you have watched any of this stuff as they've come out now with their season predictions and they go through division by division. They always go through division by division, right? And inevitably, every time for life, the NFC West is last every single freaking time. I don't understand why it has to be that way. It doesn't in any way. There's no rule in the land that says that, you can't talk about the NFC West until the very end. And by the time they get there, they're always tired about talking about this stuff. And so they rush through it. But every single one of these freaking shows, how many of them, Brandon, have you seen that have had the Seahawks in the playoffs in their predictions?
None.
Yeah, freaking zero. I don't know what it is. Everybody seems to think that the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. The Niners are great as always. The Eagles are fantastic. Like, there's no way that crap show, whatever happened at the end of last year, it can go south. The Bears, crowd them. Like, if you want to crowd them. Because, God, everybody and their dog thinks they're the greatest team of all time. Like, nobody, I even hear, ooh, the Cardinals, they're the dark horse team. I love the Cardinals. Ooh, look out for the Cardinals. The Cardinals? What the fuck are you talking about? Their roster stinks. Their defense stinks. Kyler Murray's still a midget. What are we doing? So to every single one of these stupid national shows that don't have the Seahawks in the playoffs, which is more than a distinct possibility, like at least 2 or 3 should have had them in there. Do better.
We get the short end of the stick as far as things go, just based on the alphabet being in the NFC West. Because AFC, like if you just go alphabetically, you start with the AFC and you go by the division names. West then ends up at the bottom, and then they go NFC, and then West is at the bottom. So that's why we're always the last ones to be talked about.
I don't think that's it.
No,
I mean, that's logical and makes some sense, and I'll give you that. But I think it's all because we're out here on the West Coast, hanging out in Southeast Alaska as far as the Seahawks go, it's East Coast bias nonsense.
I'm going to choose to believe that up until maybe we change the name of the division instead of being West, come up with like an A or B or C name.
Yeah, NFC Best.
There we go, NFC Best, and then we'll be. Although we need to flip over to the AFC again, and then that way we'll be right up on top.
Only people to get a pass on this is the Rich Eisen show, having a couple of segments and a couple different times where they're like, I don't think we're talking about the Seahawks enough. They're really good.
I did hear that. Yeah, that was nice of him to actually recognize that.
No, appreciate us being seen for a change. Good God. I feel like our team's the middle child.
All the better. I kind of like having that underdog mentality that I've just been used to over the years. Like, it was a little unusual when we were at the top of the heap there for a little bit.
That's true, I guess. I don't know. I like it when people fear the Hawk. Like, I like that better.
Well, it's coming.
It is.
My do better this week. You took a broad brush. I will paint mine squarely over the San Francisco Bay Area because as we heard the news that 49ers wide receiver Ricky Pearsall was shot in an attempted armed robbery over the weekend, I could not get a report out of that made really any sense initially. And I know that things are like moving targets early on. Everybody wants to be first with the news. But I heard that Pearsall was shot through the chest. Then I heard that he was shot through the arm. And then I heard, no, it was actually the chest, but it was kind of toward his shoulder. And I heard that he's going to be fine, especially based off of Deebo Samuel's tweet that everything's going to be fine. We're going to have our 49ers party. And then I hear another report that the officer who showed up at the scene was essentially coaching him that he wasn't going to die and that he was clinging to life. I heard all of these reports. I'm still not sure what the actual story is because so many stories have been flying around. To all the media for confusing everything by trying to be first instead of waiting and figuring out maybe what actually happened. Do better.
I've got the actual story for you, Brandon. You should have just called me. I could have cleared this up for you. So Ricky Pearsall was shot in the arm and the chest and almost died, but was coached through really well. And the reason he was shot through the arm and the chest is he was holding his arms up in front of him, right? No, don't shoot me. Gets shot through the arm and the chest. Then almost dies, and the cop coaches him through it. But then is totally fine, and he's going to be at the party with Deebo. So there you go. There's the story. I don't know if any of that's true.
I don't know if any of that's true either. Yeah. But when I heard that he was shot through the chest but didn't need surgery, That one was also interesting. Maybe it's the definition of chest. Like if it goes through your side, like if it didn't go through any ribs, but is on his side or is up higher toward his shoulder, like is that still the chest?
Is chest for you like below collarbone, above nipple? Is that where we're at?
Chest to me suggests like the heart area.
Right. See, here's the thing. He got shot in the chest. It didn't hurt him because none of the 49ers have any heart. So
he's like the Grinch. It was 3 sizes too small, and it missed everything.
Exactly.
I think he's going to be okay. It sounds like he's going to be okay.
I hope so, man.
I take the fact that the 49ers just decided to go ahead with their party, that everything's going to be okay because, I guess if a rookie gets shot and you have a party on the schedule, you just go ahead with the party.
I think in that case, for Ricky Hazing, you just go to his hospital room and then have a big party in his hospital room to get him in trouble with the staff.
Or you break him out of the hospital. So that would have been more fun.
Yeah. There you go. That feels like an 80s movie right there. Yeah.
If the 49ers were really in the team spirit, they would have broke their teammate out of the hospital and said, you're going to be here no matter what. We have team doctors. We'll make sure you're okay. You're going to be at this party with us.
Yep.
The 49ers are a fractured organization by not doing that.
Oh, you betcha. It has nothing to do with some of their most key players holding out forever and, injuries and all that. And Shanahan just being kind of a douche. But
in all seriousness, though, I do hope that Pearsall recovers and comes back and is fine.
I hope he shows just enough to get himself traded somewhere else so we don't have to worry about him on the Niners. We can really root for him.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to parse my fandom with my actual humanness that hopes that he's okay and that he does well in life. But not so well that he's a problem for our Seahawks.
Right. So this is very easy. I do this all the time with my sports hate for our rivals, right? When it comes to whatever happens on the field, I hope they fail miserably and look stupid at all times. I want that more than anything. Yeah. But in their home life, I hope they're healthy and happy and all the people around them are good and they have great relationships. And it's a very fruitful and great life for them. But,
yeah. Like George Kittle. He seems like he's doing all right off the field.
Hell yeah. Root nothing but the best for him off the field. I hope he has a very enriched and fulfilled life. I hope that he can't catch anything but a cold while he's on the field for the next year.
This seems like the right balance to have.
Yeah.
That's
where sports hate. Yeah. That's how it works.
On to Better at Life.
All right, man. My Better at Life than Skip Bayless this week is for my lovely lady, Brittany. We went downtown to Phillipsburg this weekend and actually started selling our wares for Gulchworks downtown for the first time. And look, we have kind of a different taste in the way that we make our products, and hers are colorful and often have glitter. Mine are, I would say, more tasteful, but at the end of the day, the public has spoken and her way is better. People like her stuff more than they like mine. And we did really well this weekend, mainly because of Brittany's creations and all the time and effort that she put into all of it. And it was really exciting. And, kudos to her. She was right. Okay. There. Now it's on tape. So I hope you like that, Britt. And you're also better at life than Skip Bayless.
Oh, or glitter. Glitter can be better at life than Skip Bayless.
Never.
No?
No. That's the only thing that's worse at life than Skip Bayless is glitter.
I just heard you say that you were wrong.
It's called stripper herpes. That's what glitter's called.
I heard you say that you were wrong about glitter.
Is that what you heard? That's what you took away from that? Yeah. Okay. Well, it's a free country. You can misinterpret my statement any way you'd like. Congratulations.
My Better at Life this week is for, speaking of sports hate, this is a guy that I had a lot of sports hate for. It is former Patriots head coach Bill Belichick. But I don't know have you caught him on Pat McAfee's show this season? Throughout the preseason, he's been coming on. I don't know if he does a weekly segment. I just catch the YouTube clips. And I have to say that listening to Bill Belichick break down, he went through all the considerations that a front office has to go through when shaping the 53-man roster on cut down day, talking about dealing with players and contract negotiations. And after seeing him for so many years on the podium and not giving answers and not really even sounding like he cared to talk about anything, I see a guy that just enjoys talking about football and a guy who has a lot of really cool insight from his time coaching and being a general manager. And if he doesn't get to do that anymore, I want to hear Bill Belichick now as a guy breaking down football. And for making that turn from coach and general manager to broadcaster, Bill Belichick, better at life than Skip Bayless.
Okay, so you're buying the Bill Belichick charm campaign to get him a job for next year so he can break the all-time wins record. That's all it is.
He's winning.
That's all it is. On the inside, when he's given a big answer to McAfee that you think is a good one and all that, and you're like, oh, there is a heart there. On the inside, he's like, talking about all of this, I wish that I was still coaching and I'm the greatest coach ever. Catfish! Call you.
If it's an act, like he's doing it really well.
Yeah.
Because before this, when he was still Coach Belichick and he would come on some of the shows in the postseason, because once the Patriots were out of the playoff running, I feel like we would see him on some shows. He'd have the suit on.
Yeah, they did that whole Hall of Fame thing or top 100 players of all time thing that one time. Yeah,
he was kind of stuffy still, and I'm getting actual real human vibes from him. Not that I want him to be my coach, but I wouldn't mind him being the coach of a team that I don't have to root for.
Do you think he ended up with that 22-year-old hottie of a girlfriend because he put out real human vibes, or because he's Bill Belichick and he's worth $1 quadrillion?
I mean, I don't know. I lean
answer.
more toward the quadrillion dollars part, but I don't know what's in the heart of those two fine people.
Two fine people. Can you imagine a Bill Belichick pickup line?
You don't need a pickup line. I'm Bill Belichick.
Can we just move on to the next bar? We're on to the next bar.
On to the next bar. Yeah, well, sometimes people say that about us, I'm sure, that we're barely adults.
I'll take that. Absolutely. Because I on the inside, I feel like I'm still 12. And that's probably why I'm so freaking geeked up, man. I cannot wait for Sunday. I can't wait.
This is 12-year-old me the night before Christmas, not being able to sleep because I'm so excited to be under the tree this Sunday and opening the first present of the day, which is the game against the Denver Broncos.
That's right. And Coach Mike is giving to you for Christmas, Brandon, a big, fat W.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.